drug overdose cases saw a sharp spike this month with 15 confirmed heroin overdose cases in a single week. Jim, heroin seems to be on the rise, state and nationwide. How can we combat this problem?
Education. First start in the schools. It's rampant. ABC 7 is really doing a series this week. Public needs to be more aware of this. I mean, you see it more frequently now. You see people zoned out. Like I was going to work a couple weeks ago, and I got a guy walking on Pennsylvania Avenue, just kind of like walking like a zombie. And I had to call the police to make sure he didn't get hit because he was walking down the right side going to Hagerstown. And it's scary because we have a lot of people out there, and I worry about the young kids out there. And it's all classes of people. It's the rich, the poor, the middle class, and you can blame anything. Is it the person who's blamed because they know once they start taking this drug, that's it. You're on it for life. Because it is so hard to get off this drug without having the help of police officers and paramedics taking the Narcan drug to help them maybe get off that.
Well, I think that's just simply to prevent them from dying from the overdose. They do have a number of different treatments now and some very new ones. I know Doug Mullendor was talking about that Vivitrol, is it? I believe, which is a whole new kind of approach because it's an injected thing that can last up to 30 days. So you don't have that problem as you do with so many illnesses that require, pill medications. You don't have to take it every day. So it tends to have a much better effect, very expensive though. And then part of the problem though I see here is that heroin's cheaper today.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's one of the
absolutely.
reasons
That's part of the
why
problem.
people are turning to it, but part of the reason has a lot to do with our drug business here in the United States because, it's how most people start heroin. They go through the door of painkillers. That, they did a study in 2010. In 1 month, doctors prescribed enough painkillers to medicate the entire American population 24/7 for a whole month.
And
That's a little bit overdose. You watch television. There's ads and ads and ads for drugs.
And it's funny you say that because thinking back and the couple of times that I've had procedures or other things where I've needed painkillers, I broke a toe one time.
Yeah.
I mean, they give you like 30 or 60 pills or whatever it is. And I remember when I had the one procedure and they said, well, take this every day for the next 10 days or so. I took like 2 pills and that was it.
I did the same thing.
But what happens to those other pills?
And that's part of the problem because
That's a big part of the
75% of heroin addicts started out being addicted to prescription drugs. And students in high schools now, they're starting out being addicted to, or starting with prescription drugs as their
how
drug.
happened.
And that's how it starts.
Between 1999 and 2010, the abuse of prescription drugs and people on them, it expanded 4 times.
And between 2002 and 2013, the addiction rate to heroin was up 286%.
They're related. Both of those things are related. But if you talk to our sheriff, Doug Mullendor, I mean, he speaks an awful lot about the problem with prescription drugs and the fact that doctors just, prescribe so many, they're pushed so much. And I mean, again, you just watch television. There are other countries in the world, you cannot advertise drugs on TV.
And I
It's
don't think they
forbidden.
should.
Well, and I think it's a 2-part thing. We have to make sure that our parents are educated so that they can talk to the children about the dangers of drug use. And then we also have to change the rhetoric of how we speak about drug abuse because it's so narrow-minded from most people's standards that they don't realize that drug abuse is an illness. It's not, addiction is an illness. It's not just a choice necessarily all of the time. And we constantly don't follow through with that.
It's
I
a
was
major
also
health
intrigued
issue.
that the biggest population that are subject to addiction are non-Hispanic white males 18 to 25 years old.
Yes, that's the highest.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's by far and away. That's the group.
So they're starting right after high school.
Right after.
Exactly.
Essentially.
It's very young, but again, it's tied in with some of these other things. It's interesting. In a place like Portugal, they literally legalized all drugs. Now, I'm not saying I'm for that, the interesting thing is they did this, and there was a huge history. It's a long story how it got to be. They had a terrible problem in Portugal. They went all out to, carpet bomb drugs in Portugal. It didn't work. So they said, well, what the heck, we'll try the other thing. Well, it turns out the situation after several years of this, a number of years right now, maybe it's, 10 or something like that, they're actually, the situation's a little better. It's not a panacea. However, they have a lot more money for treatment because they're not putting it in, throwing people into camp, for the drug problem. And I think it's a matter of attitude and a lot of funding. It's money also for treatment, which is expensive.
So, and we, locally, since February 1st, 20 cases of heroin overdoses.
Yes.
20 cases
What's it going to be next month?
in our little community,
they're
2 of which
lacing
were
it.
fatal.
They're lacing heroin with different.
Another additive that's not natural.
And that's part of the problem.
Yeah, that
And
is part of it.
And with prescription pill addiction, from a long-term perspective, it's cheaper to go to heroin, as we were
Yes.
talking about.
They're calling it super heroin because apparently, they got to try to catch these drug dealers, which I know is impossible, but they need to try to catch these drug dealers. And the people that are getting caught are not speaking up.
There's a great article in the Herald Mail on the local impact. I would encourage our viewers to read that. Good article.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, do we have any more
I think we're out of
reflections on
town.
that
Well,
before we're kind of?
I just say,
one more thing?
try to stop anybody you see is doing it, maybe get them help. And, or before they think you go down that way, you need to, hey, talk them out of it.
Yeah.
Because it really is, people go through depression and they lean towards drugs. So,
Okay, well, I think you're getting the last word, Jim, number 2,
okay.
on that one. And up next, we'll talk about the Supremes, and I don't mean the musical group.